David, a project manager, traveled often for business, despite receiving a good salary. More challenging. After getting married, David found it difficult to be away from his wife for extended periods. Despite his explanations that he had no choice and enjoyed his job, his wife Avery would pack a suitcase and threaten to leave for his mother-in-law's house, causing drama. David would then apologize, take her home, and calm her down during lunch with a colleague. After 2 years and 9 months, Avery gave birth to a lovely baby girl called Eleanor, a wonderful surprise for David, who was confident in their ability to care for their future kid. After the birth of their daughter, averse behavior softened, and she devoted herself to caring for her, leaving little time for arguments with David. However, when David was away on business, averse old habits returned, and she angrily scattered his belongings from an open suitcase in the entryway, causing a ruckus that woke their daughter. She later apologized to David and admitted her tendency for impulsive behavior. After returning from a business trip, David treated Eleanor to ice cream at a cafe. Eleanor shared a secret with her father, joking that she had a crush on a boy or pulling a prank. Instead, she told him that when he wasn't home, her mother picked her up from kindergarten with her friend Uncle Matthew. David questioned his daughter in a stern tone, hoping it was a joke. However, he was already irritated. David considered his next steps about this distressing situation. After contemplating confronting his wife about her probable adultery, he sought solace in his buddy Andrew's suggestion of hiring a detective to follow her for a week. However, David expressed reservations about not seeing her. Andrew warned David not to be foolish, since they may not care if they are caught. However, they may attempt to cover it up while you are there. After some deliberation, David agreed to Andrew's advice and followed through. The next 2 weeks were nerve-wracking. Avery was surprisingly calm and did not cause conflict. When David needed to listen to the detective's report, the detective suggested a discreet meeting in the mall's underground parking lot to avoid attracting attention. David was sitting in his car, waiting anxiously when he heard a quiet knock on the window. A man dressed in a stylish blue coat greeted David and handed him an envelope, explaining that it was unsealed. When David inquired about the contents of the envelope, the detective replied, "Take a look and see for yourself." David opened the envelope and found a stack of photographs taken at various locations in the city, each with a date and time. The man in the photos was unfamiliar to David, so he asked his husband to look through it. Inside, there was a sheet of paper with the man's name, place of employment, and occupation. David discovered that Avery's lover, Matthew, was her co-worker. He questioned how long they had been together and how long Avery had been deceiving her husband. David hired a detective and took his daughter to his parents' house to avoid confronting Avery when he returned home. Avery waited for him in his current attire. David entered the kitchen and placed a collection of images on the table. The photos depicted Avery and Matthew engaging in various activities, including kissing and intimacy. When Avery glanced at the images, she caught her husband's eyes and said, "Are you crazy to stalk me?" David was astonished by his wife's reply, expecting her to lose her rage or apologize. Instead, she said that she had intended to leave him for a long time and planned to come clean soon. Avery laughed at the expense of hiring a detective and dropped the images on the floor. David offered her a week to pack, but she decided to go after a single day. David felt defeated and was confused by averse behavior. He couldn't understand why she'd manipulated him for so long. He made her sign a document, giving him sole custody of their daughter Eleanor. Even though she'd promised to visit Eleanor, she never did after they separated. Avery didn't stay with Matthew. She often appeared in the company of various men, often intoxicated. David was relieved when the truth was revealed and Avery was no longer involved in his life or his daughter's life. He didn't want Eleanor to fall under the influence of someone like her. David continued to struggle with betrayal and didn't look for a new partner. Instead, he and Eleanor traveled a lot and enjoyed their time together. Eleanor's grandmother was like a mother to them, making everyone happy. Once, when Eleanor was a teenager, she asked about her mother after finding out the truth from David. She told him he'd made the right decision. Sometimes a moment of clarity is all it takes to live a happy life.